be sprinkled on you. This is something that takes diligence. It takes dedication. It takes a behavior change. But if you are willing to do those things, you are going to get yourself out of debt. And that's a promise. So I'm so excited to share something that I've been passionate about for a really long time.
Yeah, I think this Zoom's been a long time coming. I know, Ashley, this has been like a burning desire in your heart for a long time too. And the thing that I think is really cool is both us and the Kunklers got out of debt prior to the business, when for us, we were living paycheck to paycheck and we were still able to do it. So I want you guys to know, even if you're not making buku dollars with It Works, that is okay. You could make nothing and still do the work. It is a 100% behavior change. And that was really something that took a lot longer for me to kind of get through my head than it did him. But we're so excited to share tonight. We're just going to share our stories of, I know I'm going to open up about some stuff that I've never kind of put out there before about how I got into debt and what kind of debt we had. And then after this, our plan is to just do kind of weekly Zooms where we actually work through the book Total Money Makeover. And then you guys can look at like your personal finances. Like, you don't have to necessarily, we're not going to be like putting that out there. If you need help and you have questions, obviously we would be more than willing to help in any way we can. And that anything you guys tell us would be 100% confidential. Like, we're not going to go blasting it out anywhere. So,
and get this out to as many people as you can, team wide. I know a lot of times when you have a Zoom or a meeting or any type of curriculum like this, the number one thing that keeps people away is the fact that they don't feel like they're financial gurus, or that they won't understand the concept, or they won't understand the terminology. And I can assure you that this is simple. That's what makes this so cool, is the simplicity, and that anyone can, again, as long as they're willing to create a little bit of a behavior change, anyone can do this. You don't have to have any prior knowledge of finance. If you know that you have some money coming in, you can get this done. Mm-hmm. So that's what's so cool about this.
I started rereading Total Money Makeover just to kind of like get back in the mindset and really go over everything. And it's funny how many there is a parallel kind of journey of It Works and getting out of debt. Like, it's a behavior change. It's a mindset. It's a doing the simple things. Nothing that we're going to talk about is hard or complex. It's just some people do it and some people don't. And the people that do it and do it every day are going to be the ones that get out of debt and completely change their family's financial future.
Philosophy-wise, there's a lot of parallels also. With It Works, we break things down into simple steps, your steps to success, starting small and leading to bigger things. And that's another thing that makes the Total Money Makeover, or Dave's concept, so intriguing and so different, is that he actually has people start small and move bigger. And that way you feel the small victories along the way, and that keeps you interested in continuing the journey toward financial freedom. It's really, really cool. Yeah. So, but I would love if you guys would allow me to pray over this before we start. I would love to pray over this group. And I would love for Jesus to be here. Because no matter how much we talk, or how much Ashley talks, or how much anybody on here gets the opportunity to share, if he's not here, then we're not going to connect with everybody possible. So I'd love to do that if you guys would allow me to do it. Father God, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you so much for this opportunity to pour into people in a completely different way. I pray that you are fully present. I pray that you will turn the hustle and bustle of life off for just a little bit, so that minds can receive this information on how to find themselves in a more free financial place. I pray that you will open hearts and mold those hearts. And I pray, Lord, that we will learn how to handle finances the way that you intended for them to be handled. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for speaking through everybody that speaks, that you speak through. And thank you for speaking into the ears of everybody that you'll speak into. We love you so much. Amen.
Amen. Okay, we have a question. Amanda asked if we should get, or if we recommend they get the workbook.
Yes.
So I would say if you can afford it, it is a helpful tool to have. If not, the book is great too, and it'll give you the basic principles. So if that is a stretch for you, like by all means, don't do it. But if you can afford to get the workbook as well, it is a great tool to have as we work through or as we go through the book.
Amanda, the first time I did this, Trista can attest to this. I created my own workbook because I wasn't in a position where we could afford it. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. And frankly, I just started kind of dabbling in it anyway. And so I just took it chapter by chapter, and I took really detailed notes of every chapter, and I pretty much just stapled it together.
I actually found
that actually became my first workbook. So you don't have to buy the workbook, but it is helpful. It just kind of keeps you on track, just like in school,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's kick it off. Ashley, you guys want to go first and kind of tell your story and anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, we can. We are going to be like super, super general, just because I know that we're going to be tackling like the details of how to go debt free through the book. So we were talking earlier before the Zoom, and you guys, I'm so excited. If you don't know, this is my husband, Nathan. He's a double diamond leader. This is his first Zoom. So but I'm so excited to have him on. And I know last year in Boss Babes, like Trista said, this has really been on my heart for a very, very long time. And I had made a post last year, just kind of testing the waters to see if this is something that you guys would be open to, because I know it changed our life. And I know that, like they said, Trista and Eli said earlier, it aligns right with it works. Like, we know that Mark and Cindy started this company to help people go debt free. And so I just felt we are doing a disservice to our team if we're not teaching our teams to go debt free. And I don't think a lot of people are seeing how amazing this opportunity is that we have our hands on, because we're not teaching people how to be smart with their money. And I don't think they see the success in that. So I'm so excited that we get to do this. And I'm excited that he's on, because he's really our financial guru in this house. He loves Dave Ramsey. I had been, kind of familiar with Dave Ramsey before we met. So I'm excited that we kind of both just kind of aligned, and it just kind of happened. So we're excited to share our story. Basically, we sat down tonight before the Zoom, and we just kind of said, okay, so what do we want to talk to you guys about? And the first question that came to our mind was, why did we want to become debt free? Why was it important to us as a family? Like a lot of people just go through the motions of life. They just pay their bills. And then, like you said, Trista, you were living paycheck to paycheck. We were too. So we sat down and we said, why was it important for us to go debt free? And I think we both kind of had different moments at different times. And then they just kind of aligned and then we just kind of tackled it at the same time. So first of all, he had his first aha moment first. So I will let you talk about your first aha moment.
Mine kind of started, I was already doing like a basic budget because I had been introduced to Dave Ramsey. I think I kind of found him just on the radio. And I've always had an interest a little bit in finance and maybe this big dream of being wealthy one day, because I grew up in, I wouldn't call it a poor family, but we didn't have any extra money. It was just constantly drilled in my head. We don't have the money for that. We can't go on this vacation. So it kind of molded me into the frugal person that I am today. So I always did like a basic budget. And all of a sudden it was, I think, late October, early November. And this big surprise happened, was Christmas was coming. And I looked at our budget and I looked at our savings account. We didn't have any money. So it was kind of just like this freak out moment where, what are we going to do? My credit cards are already, if not maxed out, close to the max. I've got these two little boys at home, and it was just kind of like panic mode, where it's kind of just like, let's get this going. Like it's time. We're making a decent income. We should have a little bit extra money to at least pay for Christmas. So Santa Claus keeps these little boys happy.
Yeah, so our debt-free journey started, like Trista said, before It Works came in. So this was like years and years and years ago, where like he said, we had Braden and Landon at home, and it was October of whatever year it was. And he said Christmas was coming up. And here's the funny thing about Christmas and these holidays. And Dave Ramsey talks about this in his book. You guys, that happens every single year. It's not a surprise. Like, oh my God, Christmas is here. Like, it happens on the same day every single year. So why hadn't we been planning for it? Like, why was that a big shock to us? Like, it's just crazy. Like, those little things that he talks about in this book are just like these mind-blowing things, but they're so simple. So that was his aha moment. And so what's really, really super important to know, and this is something else that Dave talks about, is in our family, he's the saver. Like, he's very, very frugal, and I am a spender. If money comes in, and this was me before I had met him, I was a single mom. I was making decent money for being how old I was being a single mom. The money that I was making, I was spending just as quickly. I wasn't saving. I didn't start a 401k. I was doing overdraft fees, like all of that stuff before we got married. And he talks about it still to this day. Like, we were cleaning out my apartment to move here, and he would find like overdraft fees, and he was just like, he couldn't believe that I would allow that to happen. But I'm very impulsive with my money. And so when you have this conversation, if you have not had it with your spouse yet, you have to know, I think, and he was very, very mindful of this. So he was already kind of like, okay, we need to go debt free. But he also knew, like, if he came to me and said, we need to go debt free, we need to get on a budget, this is what you need to be doing, I would have been like, hold up, I am an adult, you don't tell me what to do. So he was very mindful of kind of like dropping hints, like, I think this would be a good idea. Like, what do you think of this? And along the way, until I had my big aha moment where I was like, I was pregnant with Brooklyn. I was working at a job that I hated. Like, I was one of those people that like went to school just to get a 2-year degree, just to say that I had a degree, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So I was working at this job that I did not love. I was pregnant with Brooklyn, and that's when it was laid upon my heart that I really, really wanted to stay home. I was one of those people that did not want to be a stay-at-home mom until I did, and it didn't happen until I was with Brooklyn. So I remember my big aha moment was when I came to him and I said, you know what? I really want to stay home. Do you think we can make this work? And this is when he was like, yes. He was like, well, funny that you say that. I don't think we can make it work until we go debt free. So he was dropping these hints. And so then now that I had my why and I wanted to stay home, I was like, okay, let's do it. But so if you guys are the spender of the family, or if you're the saver, be very mindful of that conversation and how you need to have it. And if you do need to sprinkle in those small hints before really saying, you know, this would be really, really important to me, and telling them why it's important, or just kind of dropping those hints and letting them have their aha moment. And then you guys can really tackle it together. Because one of the benefits for us of going debt free is we were working towards a common goal. Like, he was so excited because, like I said, he's the saver. So we're saving money. He's all about it. And I was working to a goal of staying home. So we were doing it together, and it made our marriage better. And if you guys are having these fights every single month about your money, and you're working to go debt free, and you go debt free, guess what happens? Your marriage gets better. Your life gets better. So that's what's really, really exciting about this. So that's why we went debt free. And so then the second question came up, how did we go debt free? So he had been like reading the book, Total Money Makeover. And then so he was running the budget, like he said beforehand. So he just got really specific on what our budget looked like. And so what we did bi-weekly, right? On the Sunday, bi-weekly, every Sunday, we sat down, he would print out the spreadsheet that he had at work, and he'll go into a little bit of detail of what that looked like. But he would make me a copy. We would sit down, we would look over like what we had been spending the past few months to kind of get an idea of what our budget need to look like. And for the people who are spenders, you guys, I want you to understand, but the word budget can be very, very scary for people who are spenders, okay? But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be. Just because it's a budget doesn't mean you can't spend money, you can't do anything fun. It just means you have to make sure you have a category for that fun. You have to, okay, so Target money, you guys all know I joined this business for Target money. We made sure I had a line of, you know, what is it?
It's called a line item.
Just a line item. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. A line item specific for Target money. It may have only been $25, but it still allowed me to feel like I was able to go to Target and feel good that I was spending that money. You know, I was still spending, and I was still doing it at the place that I wanted to spend. It just wasn't $500 and being sticker shocked when I went up to the, you know, checkout. I knew that I had $25. So it still allowed me that freedom, but we we had to plan for it. So go ahead.
That budget basically is just us telling our money where it's going to go rather than wondering where it went
at the end of the month. Yeah. So why don't you get into more detail about like what our budget looked like, and then maybe talk about the envelopes a little bit too.
Yeah. So I did a basic budget, read the Total Money Makeover. Mine has evolved over the years. In the back of the at least the version of Total Money Makeover that I read, he had some sample budgets, and I took that line item by line item, and then I've been doing it for several years. Mine has kind of turned into the Nathan version of it rather than the Dave Ramsey version. But just your basics. We had all our utility bills. I put debt up at the top. We listed every single debt that we had, all the way down to groceries, fast food, and I have a sample budget if anybody wants to take a look at it, but it's real similar to the Dave Ramsey version. And our biggest kind of what kept us on track was there's a few items that got us all the time. Biggest one was food. Mm-hmm. The grocery store got us like crazy. We could stay on track, but it was the Tuesday nights, Thursday nights after work. Oh crap, we're out of milk, we're out of bread, or Braden has drank 5 Gatorades in a day and now he doesn't have anything to drink, and he's going to drink all my Cokes now, so I better run to the grocery store and get him something to drink. So there's a couple things. Groceries, fast food was a big one in restaurants. We did envelopes for this stuff. So we sat down together. We had a budget. I don't know exactly what it was at the time, but we took our income and then we kind of we had that at the bottom, and then we worked our way through it. So if we had $200 for that 2 weeks for groceries, we had $200 cash. The day that I got paid, I went and I got my fast food, I got groceries. If we had clothing or whatever for the kids, anything that we could pay cash for, we paid cash for it.
So what he's saying, like on payday, he went to the bank to get cash for our envelopes for that week. That's what he was saying. So like, and then I remember we would go to the grocery store together and I would type it, like, let's say we had $200. I would type $200 in my calculator and have my phone out. Anytime we put something in the basket, I was subtracting it. So I knew that we would stay on budget, and that helped tremendously, I think.
It's huge. When you go to the grocery store and you have $200 cash and you know you're not allowed to use the debit card or credit card, it changes everything. You're paying attention to everything you're buying. You're not going there getting anything on impulse. It's a game-changing experience as far as staying on track.
Yeah, and something else that I think was a game changer for the budget, and Dave talks about this too, is like the unexpected expected expenses. And what I mean by that is like birthday parties. Like I was talking about, like Christmas comes around every single year. That's not an unexpected expense. But you know, when you have kids, every single kid in that class ends up having a birthday every single month, and there's always birthday parties. So you always have to, I mean, you don't always have to, but a lot of times you want to make sure that your kids are going to the birthday. So we would allot for that kind of stuff. What are some of the other things that kids' clothes,
random
haircuts,
stuff,
like things that you just, like for me in my little mind, because I'm not good with money. Like I wasn't good with money, but for me, when I was thinking budget, I was just thinking, okay, I have the money that was coming in, and then we have like our monthly bills. I wasn't thinking about the haircuts and the extra clothes and the birthday parties and just like all of those other normal things. And that's where I would always screw myself, is because I wasn't thinking like that. But I mean, he's really good. What other stuff like?
There's a ton of stuff. It's school tuition that comes around.
Or like Kona Ice stuff. Like, do your kids have Kona Ice on Fridays? Like just allotting, just making sure that you have these, what would we call it? Blow money is what we had an item for it. We just had blow money. Again, if that was $25, we could give Landon $1 on Fridays for Kona Ice.
The blow money was a big category for us. When we first started it, basically it was $20 we had for the 2 weeks. I had $20, Ashley had $20, and it was pretty much free reign. I don't have to tell her what I spent it on. She doesn't have to tell me. you can save it if you're wanting to buy something that maybe doesn't fall in line with the goals, but hey, I've been really wanting this $50 thing or whatever, then I would keep my blow money and have it total up. But it was just, we were on the budget, we were sticking to a solid plan, but if I wanted to go out and get a cup of coffee or something, it wasn't going to mess with anything. I had my extra money, but it stayed disciplined. I wasn't going to go over that 20 bucks. So it was just part of the plan, and it was really, it worked well for us.
And you guys can figure in, like, if you like to go to work, before work, you like to go to Starbucks, that can be used for your blow money. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying, like, don't let the word budget scare you guys. And this is what he was telling me earlier. Don't let the word budget scare you guys into not going debt free. You have the freedom to say yes to the, to the things that you want to say yes to. Like, if for me, I get my nails done now, but granted, I have my It Works paycheck to cover that. But at the time, I wasn't getting, that was something I said no to, because it was more important to me for us to go debt free so I could stay home than getting my nails done. And I think that aligns with a lot of stuff with It Works too. You say no to the good stuff now so you can say yes to the great stuff later. And going debt free is the great stuff. That's where you guys are going to see a huge difference in your life. And you're going to be like, oh my God, why did it take me so long to get on board with this? So what do you think? And this was our last thing that we wanted to kind of share. What do you feel like the benefits of us working so hard and saying no to the things then? What do you think it was so beneficial for us to go debt free? Especially, I mean, he's 35, you guys, and I'm 37, and we only owe on our mortgage. And so I think you know what our biggest benefit was.
Well, the biggest benefit,
Tucker,
I hope this is the right, sorry, my dog's jumping up here. We'll see if we're on the same page. The biggest benefit was, as I think most of you know, our daughter's sick. Mm-hmm. So was sick. She's kicking butt right now, but it gave us the opportunity to, when you have an experience like that, one of your family members becomes ill like that, the part that maybe some people don't ever think about or don't talk about is it's really expensive, and it takes a huge amount of time. So I could still go to work and not have to freak out about money, because one, you have the medical bills, and two, you're in the doctor's office and hospitals all the time, and you got to eat. And when your daughter's sick, sometimes you don't want to say no to her, so you're buying every possible thing she wants. And we had extra cash because we went through the baby steps, and you go through and you have your emergency fund put up, and it just gives you an added stress reliever, where one, it's bad enough that your daughter's sick, but two, it's what are we going to do to pay for all this stuff?
Yeah, it's a peace of mind. You just have that peace of mind because you don't have those other bills, or you don't have debt collectors calling you who don't care whether your daughter is sick or not. You know what I mean? So we did the hard stuff way before I joined this business. And so this business was that much more of a blessing for our family because we were already debt free. And so, yes, that's what I was going to say. One of the biggest blessing or benefits for us going debt free is, for me, it brought us closer because, like I said, we were working towards a common goal. And then because we were debt free, it gave us that peace of mind going through Brooklyn's journey without having to worry about all of the other bills and having those conversations of like, how are we going to make this work? And it was life-changing. I know we keep saying that word, but it's true. So
and real quick, a big thing is just the other day we went to Holiday World. Mm-hmm. It's expensive. It costs a lot of money. You're buying tickets. The kids want to play games. You're buying food. So we probably would have done that experience when we weren't debt free, but it would have been on a credit card and we would have been paying for it. And then a couple of days later, we'd be like, crap, man, why'd we spend $400 at an amusement park? We didn't even go on a big elaborate vacation. We just went to Holiday World. But we did the hard stuff in the beginning. We're out of debt, and a little one-day trip like that is a ton of fun. We built some memories with the kids, and that's it. Now there's no secondary part of, oh crap, now we have to pay for it
for the next 3 months.
So it's it's a big blessing that you get to do fun little experiences like that, and there's no guilt. It was just, yeah,
Yeah,
good.
we
Let's
can do that.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Can I think we're unmuted.
Yeah.
I just, before we tell our story, I just want to piggyback on like 4 things that you talked about there. First of all, that was fantastic. The Kunklers really hit a lot of things on the head. So number 1, going to like that holiday world trip. One thing that I know now about vacations and paying for them in cash is on that vacation, I get to enjoy it fully while I'm there. So if I would have put a vacation on a credit card prior, I couldn't even have enjoyed my vacation because I was only thinking about how I'm going to have to pay for this later. When I pay for it in cash, I get to enjoy it fully. And that is the freedom that the Kunklers were talking about. That is supreme freedom, being able to enjoy it fully while you're there in the moment. Talking about Brooklyn, Dave says this a lot. Fate favors the prepared. You guys were prepared financially, although you didn't know this was coming. Right. Fate favored you because you were prepared, and you were prepared for this situation, not maybe emotionally, but it's really eased a lot of the financial stress. Budgeting, when you talked about how that's scary to a non-budgeter, it certainly is. But all budgeting really is that it's spending your money before you actually spend it. So you know how much money you have coming in. You know what your income is. You're just, like he said, you're just telling your money where to go before you're actually sending it to where to go. It's just a roadmap through your month financially. That's all it is. Because if you don't run your money, your money will run you. There is no doubt about that. And then the most unique component to the envelope system, in my opinion, is the intrinsic emotional feeling of detachment when you spend those physical dollars. One of the biggest contributing components to debt is the plastic card that you carry in your wallet. And that even means a debit card. People say, well, I'm only spending it on a debit card. That's okay. I use my debit card also at times. But there is no emotional connection when I slide that card or when I insert the chip. The emotional connection pales in comparison to when I hand over that $25. I feel the release of that $25 a whole lot more than the slide of that plastic. So there's a ton of value in the envelope system just in that alone.
Yeah. So a lot of our story is similar to Ashley and Nathan's. So I'm probably going to kind of piggyback a lot on what they say, and you're going to hear the same thing kind of coming from our story. But
we're also going to be super transparent.
I'm going to be really, really real.
And you're going to hear things that no one else has ever heard before about our financial journey. And it doesn't matter if you tell anybody or not. Yeah. Hopefully it'll help somebody else.
If it can help anyone, like, we're totally willing to be open and honest about everything, because we have had some really, really ugly, hard parts to our story and our journey. And we've had a lot of fights and we were not in alignment for a very long time with finances. So
I'll give you one guess who the spender is. Just one guess.
Holla, that would be me. I own it. I am like the worst of the spenders. Gift giving is my love language. That's my excuse. But I literally, like, it's something about how I was born and raised. It is born into who I am. I am a spender. I feel good when I spend money.
But you gotta have it to spend it.
I had to own that. And I had to realize you can't spend money you don't have. You just can't.
Well, you can.
Well,
and that's when you find yourself in a real game.
It does not go well, but you can. And so if you are someone on here who is married and you have a joint account with someone else, I will say, just like they were kind of saying, it is really hard to do this journey if you're not on the same page. So I really, do it with tender, loving care, but it is a really important conversation to start having with your spouse or with your significant other that you do, because it is next to, until I was on board, this was never going to work for us, no matter how many times. And he probably didn't drip it so tenderly as Nathan did, but I had to get my behavior in check. I was kind of holding us back, and until I really realized that I was affecting our future,
You'll know a little bit more why it wasn't so tender here just shortly.
So we'll just put it out there. So when I was in college, I got my first credit card. I knew no different. It was honestly what I thought you were supposed to do. Like, I need to build my credit, so I need to get a credit card. And you guys know, we still get 10 freaking, things in the mail a day with a credit card offer that has all the flashy right numbers and the low APR and all that kind of jazz. We get them all the time. And so I honestly, I was just naive. I thought that's what you did. I thought that's how you built your credit. So, and I had the mindset when I opened my first credit card that it's okay. I won't use it. I'll pay it off if I put anything on it. How many of us have said that at different times, or, well, if I use it, I'll save 5%, but lo and behold, they're charging me 29% interest on something that I'm never going to pay off. So what?
I just want to say this for anybody who does have a credit card. When you first started using your credit card, you did that with the best of intention. Okay, you're not sinful because you did it. You're not some toxic person because you're using it. What you have done, and this is just the truth, is you've fallen victim to the most cleverly marketed thing in the history of mankind, which is debt. That's what you've fallen victim to. They're way smarter than we are in that world. They're really, really good at it. They're fantastic at marketing, and that's why they get paid millions. That's why we pay them millions and millions and millions of dollars, because they make it so accessible, almost like sexy, to utilize debt. So it's an unbelievable tool, and if you're using it, it doesn't make you a terrible person. So anything that we're saying, no, that we're not trying to come at you like that. We're just trying to educate you in a way that was so beneficial for us.
Yeah, honestly, I did not know better. I literally didn't know better. And so it was not with bad intentions. I just got a credit card. But then once I got that one, you go into the children's place and they have all these cute kids clothes, and I want to buy Ellie everything. And they say, oh, well, do you have a credit card? Because you can save 5% on every single purchase if you use your credit card. Sure, sign me up. I'm saving money, babe. I'm totally saving money. I'm doing that. And then we did get one credit card that he knew about. He did not know that I used it, however.
Yeah, so I knew that we had the card
for emergencies, because we just thought
she sold me on that.
I did. I totally sold him on, well, we need something if we need something for emergencies. Okay. You guys, do you think I used it for emergencies? No, I used it to go to Target and to go wherever the heck I wanted to go and buy what I wanted. And so lo and behold, a lot of times. And God love him, he just trusted that I was taking care of everything. Meanwhile,
I still do. I want you to know that I don't want you to think that I hold that over her head.
Oh no, we've worked through this
truly,
a long time ago.
Because in all honesty, I wasn't doing my job as a husband either in my half of the relationship, because I was just allowing one side to handle everything, and that was like giving scissors to a toddler.
Yeah,
and no offense, I don't mean that, but she was a spender and I was handing her the keys to the city.
We just very much were not partnering in this. And it was kind of he was just whatever, I'm just trusting you, you do it. And there was just no partnership and no communication about it. And Lord knows I'm trying to hide everything. Right?
And I was working like crazy hard. So I was at the fire department. She was doing her thing. And most of this happened while I was at the fire department because she needed something to do. I had started my business. I was doing everything in my power to what I thought was to get us ahead. I was no joke, 80, 90, 100 hours a week, just grinding. And then the bomb hit.
And then lo and behold, one day he logs into our bank account. I don't even know why. Or
I never logged into it, which is, again, my fault. I was uneducated on that.
But he did. And he was at the fire station and he calls me and he was like, hey, you need to come to the fire department. And I was like, oh, crap.
I was expecting to see a pretty decent amount of money. I had in my mind an idea of how much money should be in there. And it was a pretty good chunk of change.
And it was not there. And instead there was a huge old balance on our credit card that was only the one that he knew about at the time. And while that conversation was incredibly hard, and at the time I was freaking out that he found it, it literally saved us. It completely
not marriage wise. That was never in question.
but it saved our financial future. And so while it was a really hard conversation and it was a really hard thing to kind of talk about, it literally saved us financially.
The discrepancy that of the amount of money that should have been in our savings plus the credit card was tens and tens of thousands of dollars.
It was a lot.
That I didn't know anything about. I thought we had that, like on complete lockdown. And the way she was, as she would come home, led me to believe everything was fine. No big deal. And again, she wasn't doing this on purpose. That she's just a spender and she had no knowledge of how to spend.
And too, Dave talks about this a lot. You kind of want to keep up the charade. We live in a society where, we had good jobs. Like we should have been able to do the things and to get the things. But we were just living totally just to keep up with the Joneses for no good reason. So while we had that conversation, then we started, like the basics. We knew probably we needed a budget.
This was right.
So
this was in the car.
We started that.
I took a deep breath after finding out, and this is the truth. She'll tell you. I took a deep breath. I'm better in that moment than I am in like if the kids spill Kool-Aid on the carpet. Like if the kids spill Kool-Aid on the carpet, I'm gonna lose my mind. But when I would rather my house be burning to the ground, I'll handle that just fine. It's just a matter of saying, all right, what's next? So I found out about that. I looked right at her. Probably the first thing out of my mouth was, I love you no matter what. Now how do we figure this out? And that's when our journey with this began.
Yep. And really, we didn't exactly know where to go. We knew kind of like, we can't spend more than we have. We have to tackle this debt. But we were actually at my nephew's birthday party 6 years ago, and he happened to pick this book up off of my sister's bookshelf and started reading it during the birthday party.
And I actually told her, I'm going to take this book with me. I didn't ask her if I could borrow it. I had already, while I was there, I probably read half of it while I was there. And then I said, I'm going to take this with me. Didn't ask her if she cared, just took it.
Yeah. So we literally started with the baby steps immediately after we got this, which we will dive into all of this like more as we work through the book. But I'm just going to tell you like the big ones that I remember. So I know we started with a $1,000 emergency fund, right? Because if the washer breaks, the car needs something, like we weren't going to have it. And we knew going into debt wasn't an option anymore. So what were we going to do? So we started with the $1,000 cash emergency fund in a safe in the bedroom. It's in a fireproof, safe. So we started there, and then we knew we had to tackle our debt.
And now don't get scared off the Zoom when you hear $1,000 emergency fund. That's where 90% of everyone stops when it comes to this, because they try to save money. They don't change their behavior. They never get to the $1,000 emergency fund, which means you can't get to step 2. So how do I get to $1,000 emergency fund? I'm not going to dive into like any details on how to do that, except you do whatever it takes. You probably have $200 or $300 worth of clothes in your closet that you do not wear that you could sell. You could probably drop eating out 2 times a month and save $100 there. You could probably, if you have a bad habit of smoking or drinking or whatever it is, you need to drop that anyway and save yourself another $100 a month. There are little bitty things like that that you can do to get to $1,000 relatively quickly. Now, quickly for one person might not be quickly for another, and that's fine. This is not a race. This is your own race.
So for us, I know in the beginning, just making a budget was like eye-opening to me, because I realized how much of the little bit here and the little bit there that I was spending. I used to go out to eat every single day on my lunch break. That was at least most of the time $15, because I would get a drink and I would get whatever. Like, I did not pay attention to prices. I was just like, okay. I mean, that's what, $75 a week right there that I was spending that I didn't even know I was doing.
That one will blow your mind. When you think about eating out, that one will blow
I feel like
your
that's
mind.
Where a lot of families struggle. Like, you just don't realize how much you spend.
So like a family of 3 or 4, let's just say, and this is low, let's just say it's $35. You go drop at McDonald's. It's $35. You do that 10 times a month.
$35 at McDonald's?
That's $350 a month. Right, just right there. Now that's only 10 times. Some people are doing that 2 and 3 times a day. and let's just say it's $15 and cut it in half. It's still a whole dang lot of money. That gets you to your $1,000 pretty quick.
Yeah. So I think with like budgeting can be, I actually heard somebody once say that they didn't like budgeting because it was scarcity mindset. I could not disagree more.
It's abundance mindset.
Could not disagree more. It is abundance mindset. You are just telling your money where it's going. You're not letting it run you over. And so every single dollar that we had a name on it. If I was bringing a dollar in, I knew exactly where it was going to go. And in the beginning, you have to say no to some stuff sometimes. If your friends want to go out and you don't have the money, sometimes you're going to have to say no, and you have to know that you have to be okay with that if this is truly what you want. And I can tell you guys, being on the other side of it, there is no better feeling than not stressing about it. It is so worth it.
There is, and Nathan talked about this. He talked about writing your budget down, which is something that I did for a really long time, just so we could stay on the same page. There is an app that I use, or a platform that I use, called Every Dollar. It used to be the Gazelle budget. Every dollar is really solid for it. It does cost, I think it's like $9 a month.
It's $9 a month, but it ties directly to your bank account. So every single transaction, you just, like, it comes through as like, oh, you spent $10 at McDonald's today. What line item or what category is that coming out of?
You get to slide it right into that line item, and then it actually shows you.
It'll tell you if you're over or if you're whatever. So we sit down the first of every month and we do that, and then we just keep track of it all month long.
We actually do that on
after prelims post,
when
so we know
when prelims come out. That's when we make our budget, because there is not really a set day on when you should do it. Now, if we had traditional jobs, the first of the month would be the right time to do it. But since we don't have traditional jobs, our month just starts on a different day. That's all.
So we sit down and we do our budget, and that was something that we started in the beginning. And then we decided, okay, we've got our emergency fund. We have to start tackling our debt. And so we started, I will say, and Dave may not totally agree with this, but I think he said this is the only reason maybe to do this. So I took all of my credit card debt that I had, and I rolled it into one different credit card that was 0 interest rate for 12 months. So that way that instead of paying all of these like down that are like 29%, I rolled it all into one, paid that off super, super fast. So then I could pay it without the interest.
The only way to do that is to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, after 12 months, they're going to smash you.
Skyrockets.
So
but I was already paying like 30% interest on the cards that I had. So probably wasn't going to get worse than that. But I did roll it into something that I actually think it was longer. I think the terms were 24 months with 0% interest. So it was all in one, paid that off first. And then we started tackling our other debts. So we went into, so if you do your budget and you have $300 left over in the beginning because you're maybe going to say no to eating out a couple times, or you're going to find ways that you can say no to something so that you can put a little bit extra on your debt. Okay. So everything extra you have, you're going to start with your highest interest rate credit card or your lowest payment and tackle that first. So say your payment there is $300 plus you're putting an extra $100. We're just going to throw out some numbers. Okay. Once you get that paid off, you have that $300 that you were paying here plus the $100 you already have. So that's $400 now that you have extra every single month. You're going to start adding that to your next, whatever it is you need to pay off. So maybe it's your student loans. That's $400 a month there. Once that's paid off, you're going to have $800 extra. And that's what you call the snowball, I don't think it's
keep trying. I want to hear
snowball payment method. I don't know what he calls it. Snowball something. So that's how you tackle your debt. And you can, I know when I sat down and looked at the amount of debt we had, it was overwhelming to me. I was like, this is going to take us so flippin' long, but you will find that like, it's not going to take as long as you need, but you have to stay disciplined with it. And you have to say no to the things that you need to say no to so that you can tackle that debt, because it'll go so much faster if you're disciplined with it.
I know for a fact that the key component is a change of behavior. that is the key component. You have to change your behavior. You have to be willing to give up. And I hate to use the word sacrifice, so we're not going to use the word sacrifice in here, but we are going to use the word invest. You don't have to sacrifice anything. You have to take that money and you have to invest in yourself or invest in your tomorrow. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we did that. We paid off our cars. We paid off student loans. We paid off all the credit cards.
Starting to feel pretty good at that point.
I
You're
don't
pretty
even
pumped
really
up.
remember what else we paid off. But we paid off everything except for our house.
I think we had like a small medical bill. Like there were some things.
Yeah, there were some little things that we paid off. But I thought that was going to take us 10 years to do. We did it in 18 months because we got gazelle intense. Yep. You'll hear him use that term a lot. Like you just have to run with gazelle intensity towards your goal.
Something else we did that I just remembered this.
We did the envelope system too.
Well, that's a non-negotiable. You have to do that.
We'll talk about that.
But we downloaded, it was a free app, and it was a snowball debt relief app to where you put in all your debts, and then it just tracks that, which really keeps you in the game.
It keeps you motivated.
You love seeing that debt it literally chunks down. Because with this process, you start knocking out debt in massive chunks. And there is nothing that feels better than sticking it to the man like that. That feels good.
All right, so let's talk envelopes real quick. Okay, so they've kind of touched on it. He touched on it, but there is no replacement for dollar bills. You feel something. If you go to the store and they're like, that's $500, handing them $500
hurts. It
hurts a whole lot more than just swiping a debit card for $500. There's no emotional attachment to that. Even if, we haven't had a credit card. We cut the credit card up. As soon as we got it, we haven't had a credit card in years.
I saw a Target card thing.
Oh, he about lost his ever-loving mind. I have a Target Red card, which is a debit card, but it has a Target logo on it because you do save 5%, and it is a debit card.
I almost burnt the house down. It has
no option to have, but he about lost his mind. He's like, what is this? I swear. But we haven't had a credit card in years, and it is freeing because they still send my Visa that I did have open. Like, they won't just freaking cancel the account. They said it would cancel, but they keep sending a new card all the time. Like, oh, it's time for a new card. They really want me to use it. They want my money, you guys. Credit card companies are geniuses. They know it works, and they're going to get money out of you. So
what's funny is I don't ever receive any credit card. Never.
I do.
I don't think I've ever got a credit card offer in my life.
You've never had one.
Well, they're
Ever.
Perfect.
Okay.
I want a credit score of 0, just so everybody knows. That's where I want it to be.
Yep. When you have cash, you don't need credit. Okay, so the envelope system. So this is just another way to tell your money where to go. So if we sat down with our budget and we said, okay, we have $400 for groceries this month. We would go to the bank and we would get out $400 and put it in the grocery envelope. I carried around, which we really need to get back in the habit of it, but I would carry around, I would have like 10 little white envelopes in my purse at all times. And if I was going to the grocery, the other thing I had to do is I had to change my behavior of where I shopped. Because I know that if I walk into Meijer, I'm going to wander over to the kids clothes section, or I'm going to wander over to the shoes or the houseware or the wherever. I know me. And so I had to adjust my behavior. So I started shopping at Payless, or I started shopping at Aldi.
They might not
somewhere.
know what Payless is.
What do you guys call it? Kroger. I had to start shopping somewhere that didn't have those things because I know me. I know that I'm going, if I put myself in the position, I'm going to do it. So I just don't.
I know you.
We would start shopping together because I know if he's there, I'm not going to wander off into the kids' clothes section.
I put her on a kid's leash. It had a monkey on her back and a leash.
I could only go so far.
Not really.
Yeah. But I know, so you have to just be honest with kind of who you are and where you are, and know what you need to put in place to change your behavior. Now it is not hard for me to go to the store and not spend $1 billion, but that was not the case in the beginning. And so if we had $400 of, grocery money, I knew I had to make that last all month. Mm-hmm. Eating out, entertainment. We also had blow money, just because, I was very I don't like being controlled. I don't like you telling me that I can't go and get my lunch, or I can't do this.
And I didn't want that anyway.
No.
I didn't want her to feel controlled. I wanted our budget to feel controlled.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. And so she was all on board with that because it still gave her, just like Ashley said, it gave her the $60 of freedom to get her fix. That's all it was. And if I would have known that ahead of time, like years and years ago, I'd have gave you $60 happily to get your fix. Like, no problem. Just not 6,000 at a time.
Yeah. So having that money that is unaccounted for is okay, but you have to put a limit on it. And you have to know, okay, it's $20 maybe in the beginning. Once we get a debt paid off, maybe I'll go to $30. But you have to, every dollar has a name. And I think that is the most crucial point. And when you go over, like if we blew our entertainment money the first week of the month, guess what? We were not eating out the rest of the month. I was going to make the grocery trip work.
Fun little side note, that blow money that was hers, the day she got it, it was gone.
It was gone.
It was truly a fix. And I was okay because I kind of made it a game because I actually got blow money also, so that it was just
he liked to save his and then
partnership.
go out and buy
and so
like
I would have like 60 turn into 600, turn into a 1,500 in no time, and she had like 4 kids shirts from Children's Place, and I'm sitting here going, I beat you on that one.
It's true. It's what I am a spender. I'm just a spender, and that's okay. Okay, so envelope system is super. Hey, there was a question about this. Let me look and see what it says. Yes, we can do that.
Absolutely. And just so you know, I'll say that one again. It's Every Dollar.
Yeah.
That's the one app that we've used so far.
So we use Every Dollar a lot.
I think there's another one called Mint. Is that right? Does that sound familiar? Mint? I don't use Mint, but I know a couple people that do. I like the interactivity of the Every Dollar.
Yeah. Whatever works well for you, but with online bills. So online bills is something that you just have to do online. But again, it goes in your budget. So on my budget, it says, Vectren is going to be $200, whatever. Once I pay that, it's linked to my bank account. So it still like pops up on my app and I can say, whoop, that was my, I paid my Vectren bill, and it can show up green or red. I went over, I went under. I think there's a free version. I don't know if the free one links to your bank account, but that's okay. If you just go through it yourself, that's totally fine. You do not have to spend money. In the beginning, we cut out literally every single bill that was not essential for living. We didn't have cable. I called like our Comcast and we changed that to something that was cheaper. We found ways to cut the bills. Like, you do what you have to do, you guys. You just do what you have to do.
We really did. It was enjoyable because I guess it just made us appreciate the smaller moments a little bit more even.
And like Ashley and Nathan said, we were working together towards something that we knew was going to truly impact our families. So it brought us closer together. We were communicating better. Like, it just does something to your relationship when you're going at a common goal that
well, let's face it. I would venture to say that money is the number one thing that people argue about. The number one thing that relationships have difficulty with is finance. And if you can rectify that, man, everything else just seems to kind of fall into place. And at least that's what we've noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really the only thing we fought about, because he thought we should have all this money, which makes me be like, oh crap, we don't have it. Like, it was bad. The Snowball app, you could just like search debt Snowball. And I'm sure there's a free version out there where you literally just put them in. And then you can say, I paid, $1,000 on my car payment, or I paid, and then it'll keep track of it for you. There isn't necessarily one that you have to use over another.
No, I don't think so either. I think as we enter this journey, and again, I think we're kind of wrapping up here, but as you enter this journey, one of the most important things you can do, one of the most critical components is just being honest with yourself. You know what I mean? First of all, which one are you? Are you the spender or are you the saver? Well, if you're on here, you might be the spender. I don't know for sure, but you might be. But be honest with that, and that's okay. It's perfectly fine. I'm not the spender, but I'm telling you right now, it's fine to be a spender. I want to be a spender someday. Like, I'm envious of what spenders do, to be honest. I just want to make sure that we've gotten to a specific point before I can say, hey, let's open up the gates a little bit. But be honest with yourself. You can't hide anything from you. So as you put stuff down on a budget, it all has to be there. I know that I'm speaking for Ashley and Nathan. You guys can reach out to any of us, and we will help you plug stuff in. We're going to help you with this journey 110%. And there is literally nothing outside of Christ that has changed my life more than living on a budget. Nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, it changed everything for us. The thing about it is like, you know, we say this in business all the time, like it works for everyone. It's the people who do the work and stick with it and become disciplined with it that it works for. And the people who don't, it won't.
Yeah.
And it's not hard. It is literally, it's so simple, but step one is realizing that, you know, there is an issue and it needs to be addressed and we have to fix it, and being honest about where you're at. What's your starting point? What's your number? You got to put a number on your debt. You got to put a number. Man, my messages are blowing up over here. So sorry if you guys can hear that. But just knowing, it's fun to not do this alone. So I'm excited to go through this again with you. It has been years since I opened up this book. So it's honestly like I'm reading things that I'm like, oh, I totally forgot, you know, about that, or I totally forgot.
If you don't have this book, it's perfectly fine. I think you can get the audio version of this book for like $. Like, I don't know how many.
Go to your library, rent it for free, if you need to.
Whatever you've got to do to get your hands on this, it's really that good. I have thousands of books that I've read, and they're all great, but none of them have changed my life more. Maybe like other things do spiritual stuff, but this is real, tangible, like stick your fingers in it change that happens out of this book if you'll actually apply it to your life. Yeah. It's so good.
So and Ashley, you can let me know kind of what you think about this, but we were kind of thinking we were going to do a weekly Zoom for the next few weeks to work through the book together. We'll try and keep it, you know, it'll probably be shorter than this maybe, I don't really know, but if everybody can just read it the week, you know, and then we'll kind of go through the main points. If you guys have questions, we're totally here, and we've never done this before, so we're just kind of winging it. So you're our test group. So we'll see when it works. But I was kind of thinking like the first 4 chapters or so. This book reads so super simple.
It's an easy read. It's like listening to your grandpa talk.
It is such an easy read. So I'll get off of here and maybe text you, Ashley, and see exactly what you think is okay for a week. But I'm kind of thinking like the first 4 or 5 chapters, but because I don't want to extend it, you know, over months. I like to get it done within 4 or 5 weeks. So
if you know of anybody who you think could benefit from this, which would be just about anybody, this would be the time to tell them about this so that they can actually hop on and jump in immediately, because it would be difficult to hop in like week 3 and get a whole bunch out of it, because we are going to literally be taking this one step at a time. So let them know that we'll be doing this, and if they're interested, we can send them the info.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Ashley, is there anything else you want to say before we hop off of here?
The last thing that I just wanted to say was, you guys, you should be really, really excited about this. Yes, it's hard work, but this can also be used as an opportunity post for your business as well.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of Ashley Mayfield. I mean, that's her biggest platform, I think. One of her biggest platforms is how much debt she paid off. And it won't only change your life financially with your family, but it's going to change other people's lives as well, because you're going to be an example that anybody can do this. So get really, really excited about it. Like Trista said, Nathan and I are going to be here with you guys to answer any questions. Again, he probably has more answers than I do, but I know he's willing to help you guys out as well. So I'm super, super excited about doing this. My heart is just so happy right now. And that's it.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm excited to go on this journey with you guys. Honestly, I'm super pumped. You know, building the business is amazing, but I know that this will literally, if you make $0 from It Works, this will be life-changing for every single person who does the work. So I'm excited to go on the journey with you guys. So we will see you next week. I'll post exactly what chapters and what time and all that jazz. Okay? All right.
Bye,
Good
guys.
night, friends.